Welcome to Fungo Talk. I'm your host, Matt Smith, and we got co-host Matt Murata. Today on the show, we got Coach Mike Hampton, head coach for St. John's University, and congrats on the promotion of head coach, much deserving. I was looking, is this your 22nd year coaching now?
This is, 22nd year coaching, yes. It is in August will be 19 years at St. John's.
Oh, man. So this is like the first time that you're kind of getting to experience some downtime during this part of the year. So, I mean, how you been and, what you've been doing right now? I know we've been talking, but, what you trying to do to stay proactive and keep it in contact with your players?
Ever since this started, we actually have had Zoom calls with them. Our first priority was their safety, to get them home because we have kids from all over the country. That was our first priority. Second priority was to make sure that they finished up strong academically. And, we actually just the grades just came out. I think our team GPA is somewhere around the 3.6.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Right. Yeah. So it's been really good. They've done a great job, but we usually now, since school is over, we're still having a couple of Zoom calls a week. We call them Tuesday is Teaching Tuesday and Fun Friday. So, on Tuesday we'll have certain things like last Tuesday, or not yesterday, but the week before, we actually had we talked about The Last Dance. We had all of our guys watch all the episodes of Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, and we talked about those things that help.
That's been awesome. What do you think about The Last Dance and your takeaways from that?
I think it's incredible. Michael Jordan is special for a reason, and his drive, his passion. I think I heard him back when he was a player mention that the money that he makes is just a bonus, a byproduct of what he loves to do every day, and that's compete and play basketball. So I think just his drive and his passion for the game and for winning, pushes everybody else.
Yeah. I thought the one cool takeaway that I saw is he wouldn't ask a guy on the team to do something that he wouldn't do, which was pretty cool. So if he pushed somebody or made them do something, he was like, I'm doing it too. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like you said, the guy's drive and determination was just like beyond, what anyone else put out there. So Maddie, have you been watching it as well?
Yeah. I lost some sleep over it. I tried to watch all 10. I think I watched 5 in one night. Just, his drive and in everything, even when he went into baseball, he would play a full game. He'd get to the field probably 10 o'clock, he'd hit before, he'd play, and he'd still want to take swings after. So I think, any young kid that wants to be the best, you look at his mentality and, there's a reason he was there. So I think it's a great teaching lesson for a lot of kids.
Yeah. And we'll get into that later. But again, like the multi-sport, him playing multiple sports, I think it's great. So, but before we get into that, Coach, I want to go over your background a little bit. You're a native of Colorado Springs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now before I keep going with your background, do you know a place called Trinidad, Colorado?
I sure do.
I played for the Trinidad Triggers in the Pecos League over in Trinidad, and it is a pretty cool like cowboy town. It's like an old Western town, small town, and that was pretty cool. But I remember taking trips over. We'd go up to Denver to watch a few Rockies games. We passed through Springs, but it's beautiful. Colorado's awesome. My dad's family's actually from Denver, so it was kind of cool to go back and the altitude was different. I couldn't breathe for the first few weeks, but then I adjusted. So
no, it's definitely a different situation over there.
Yeah,
it is.
But I guess after. Oh, were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm from Colorado Springs initially, and my father was military, so we moved around quite a bit. Before I call Colorado Springs home just because I went to high school there, but prior to that, I was actually born in Germany at an Air Force base in Germany. Before I graduated high school, I lived in Michigan, Utah, Texas, Florida, and then Colorado Springs, where I went to middle school and high school.
Oh, wow. So you had an interesting Little League career, I'm guessing. You kind of were all over the place.
I was.
Now, how was that? How was that growing up? Kind of that making that adjustment. Was it something that was difficult, or I mean, being a military child, were you able to adapt because that's something that military people do?
I think initially, and maybe going through it, it was a little difficult. Now that I look back at it, it was the best thing that from me and personally that I could have ever done. You know, I mean, I can't say my wife is born and raised here in Queens, New York. She knows who her second grade teacher was. She has friends that she went to kindergarten with. I don't have that. However, I think that, you know, me being kind of worldly and going to different places, I think that that's, you know, an advantage too. And you know, I guess maybe street smart and just getting different ideas.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And then you went on to attend Clemson University. So
Yes.
what made you want to go to Clemson? Was it the warm weather? You were done being in Colorado and you wanted some warmth? Or tell us how you kind of got there.
Well, that was boy, and this is only a half-hour show, so I better
give me the Spark Notes. Give me the Spark Notes version.
So I was at a junior college in Colorado, Otero Junior College, which is in La Junta, which is only about hour from Trinidad. And I was going to junior college after that. I wound up going to Clemson because my cousin was a professor at Clemson. And he had actually gone in to Bill Wilhelm, who was the head coach at the time, and said, "Hey, I have a cousin that's a pretty good baseball player." I got a phone call out of the blue. I was actually playing down in Arizona, and he called me up. Some scouts had seen me play, so I gave him those numbers. He called them up, and they had some good things to say. He actually gave me a small scholarship sight unseen, and I headed out to Clemson.
That's fantastic. And the rest is history. You know what? The rest is history. All-American third baseman, and you guys were ranked number one nationally, kind of battling it out at the top. Then you became a fourth-round draft pick by the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, you had so much success on the offensive side as a player, and now as a coach, I mean, you've worked with guys like Joe Panik, first-rounder, World Series champion. What is your philosophy on hitting, and do you have any favorite drills or workouts that you feel contribute to that success?
Yeah, we've had a lot of really good hitters at St. John's, and you know, I think that, you know, one of the things that I look for in a hitter is just his ability to make good contact. You know, and you know what, I know that nowadays you're talking about launch angle, and there's different types of philosophies there. You know, what I've tried to get across, and each guy, you know, I think the most important thing is each hitter and each player is a little bit different. You know, you can't take a guy that maybe is, you know, 5'2" and not really maybe 100 pounds, and you can't make him a power guy. And you can't make a guy that is 6'5" and 250 pounds, and you can't make him a bunter or whatever. I mean, he can bunt, but, you know, again, you have to look at each individual player. Some of the drills that I mean, a tee work is my favorite drill that I've always used. And specifically with the tee, I've always, and it's funny, if any of my former players they'll know this, but a high tee drill is really one that I've always loved. And simply because, you know, the gravity usually takes your hands down, and, you know, when you work on a tee that's higher than a normal pitch, then you really have to control your hands and keep them higher. With that, you keep your barrel above the baseball, you know, and our ultimate goal is to try to get backspin on the ball.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I do a ton of virtual clinics with the youth guys that I have, because I'm in the Little League sector now. I went from college to high school. I went the opposite way. Usually you start at the bottom, work to the top. I went from the top to the bottom. But I tell these guys, again, you hit it on the head. I think, you have to know who you are as a player, right? I mean, if you're the tiny guy, you're not trying to be Aaron Judge. You got to play to your strengths, right? I mean, if you're the line drive guy, or you get on, you have speed, you're going to bunt, you're going to hit and run and do stuff like that. But again, in these clinics, I tell these guys the tee, they're like, oh, the tee's so boring. It's the most important part, because you get to feel out your bat path, which is so important. Sometimes if you're doing a front toss or a side toss, you can't slow everything down and feel your hands out, right? I think you hear this word this term, progression. It's so important, because you can go from slow, then you could speed it up, then you could go from the tee to the side toss, to the front toss, to the overhand. So I think these are the things that are so important that I like to address when I'm giving out these virtual clinics. And I know Maddie's also works with a lot of youth players as well. Matt, is this something that you like to address as well?
Yeah, I mean, I love the high tee. I love that, that was brought up by Coach Hampton. I think, people want to just bang off the tee and, listen, I'm in a facility, as you can see, so I watch it all day long. With the high tee, it's just going to force them to understand the zone. And like Coach Hampton's saying, it kind of forces them not to drop their barrel, or, if they're a guy that likes to drop the barrel, the high tee, I think can kind of show them their path and show them, all right, hey, the ball's already elevated. Now you're trying to elevate an already elevated baseball. That's already done for you. If you can kind of focus on staying on the top of the zone. So I love that. I think, everyone wants to get to the BP portion. And I think the more you're in baseball and the more you kind of are 20, 21, you really understand, the importance of the tee, the importance of your progression. So I love it. I love going low tee, high tee. I think, it's great. It's so simple, but it's so important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Coach, another thing, I mean, you see so many swing and misses, right? I mean, the high tee is so important because when you got a guy throwing 90 plus, I mean, you really have to stay on top of that ball. I mean, you look at the MLB, every swing and miss, you're underneath the baseball.
I would say over 75% of misses are underneath it, and, I mean, obviously sometimes if there's a breaking ball, you're going to miss above it. But my point is if you can control your barrel, okay, then you have a much better chance. And gravity is working against us. So we have to be able to, and that's why if you see good hitters, I actually had the fortune to meet Craig Biggio, and Craig Biggio is not a real big guy, but when I shook his hand, you're talking about forearms and wrist strength that, I mean, you wouldn't even believe. So, it's a common factor when you meet good hitters, you usually find some strength in their wrists and their hands.
So 2 things. Are you a big forearm guy when you tell your guys at St. John's, hey, we need to build our grip strength and our forearms? And B, do you guys use the machine and speed it up to kind of get some hand-eye coordination going? I mean, I know you guys are versing some pitchers that could fill it up. So how do you guys prepare for those guys that are getting it up in the 90 plus?
Yeah, no, we do both. I mean, strength and conditioning is a huge part, not only with hands and grip and forearms and all that, but a whole body strength. I mean, you see bigger and bigger athletes, and they are athletes. Every day in Major League Baseball, strength is huge in our situation and in our program. You basically want to get those guys as strong as possible to be able to control what they're trying to do. That's really a huge part in our program. As far as to be able to hit that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, we do speed up, machines, or, we do short BP, trying to eliminate that timing, and if you notice a lot, I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but you're going to see a lot of major league hitters that have a wider stance, that have less of a stride. And that's because they're trying to eliminate that timing and just be able to control their hands and let the velocity be their power.
Yeah.
If they can make solid contact, the ball is going to go on them.
I think almost like golf and baseball, it's the same, where that less is more is kind of better, right? I think the more you try and get tight and try and do too much, your mechanics start to break down a little bit. That brings us to our first question, since we're talking about youth development here, and it's something that I'm involved in and Matt's involved in. We know youth development is important. It's the foundation of every player. Where do you feel there needs to be a focus on when teaching these young players the game and trying to set that strong foundation?
I think basics. I think fundamentals are so important. I mean, I have a 7-year-old myself, so he's a multi-sport athlete. So I think being a multi-sport athlete, I think, is huge, because they're trying to figure out their bodies. But I think fundamentals, when I go out and I hit with Jack, my son, I don't talk to him about, what his hands are doing and what his feet are doing and all that. I just want him to swing hard. I want him to try to hit the ball as hard as possible, because when he starts to do that, his body will kind of fall into place, his swing and everything. Now, again, maybe in a few years we may start to talk about mechanics, but really, I just want him to go up there and just swing it hard. When he throws the ball, I want him to throw it hard, or try to throw it hard and not let it go arm side or, get behind the baseball. When he's fielding, hey, just get it in your glove, right now. Move your feet to put your hands in a position to field the ball. That, really those are fundamentals of catching and throwing and hitting, and I didn't mention the catching part of it, and it just takes, when you're talking about catching, you got to be able to, there's I guess an innate fear of getting hit. Well, you start out with a softball, and make sure that even if they get hit with it, that it doesn't hurt them that much. And then you kind of work up. So
I couldn't agree more. Maddie, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think, at a young age, a lot of people are trying, okay, hey, let's work on mechanics. But just like Coach is saying, then kids become tentative. I think if you can train them to be athletes and swing hard, then he's just going to get used to that. And then when the mechanics have to fall in line, that's fine. But, too many people want to get too cookie cutter. And now you're getting a 7-year-old, he's thinking about 8 different things, and he starts pushing the baseball instead of, doing what he wants to do. So I think there's a lot of validity in that. I think, we were guys that played multiple sports growing up. We'd get a tackle football game going on a Sunday, and, I'd cut across the middle, I'd catch a ball, and then you'd tackle me across the middle. So, being better movers is everything. So I think, at that age, it's such a young age where, you just want them to fall in love with the game, and then everything will take care of itself. When it becomes a job, or, you're trying to cookie cut a 7-year-old swing, that's when things are going to get challenging. So I couldn't agree more.
I think you nailed it on the head. I mean, for me, it's these kids need to first have a passion for the game of baseball. It's funny. I ask so many kids, I'm like, who's your favorite player? Who's your favorite team? And they're like, I like the Yankees. I don't know about a favorite player. I mean, I know me growing up, I hit like Derek Jeter to a T. And when I took the mound, I pitched like I was Roger Clemens. I mean, I think that's the beauty of these kids, is like, it's the passion, right? You want to be your idols. You want to have that mentality. You just see it so many times. It's like, are kids really in love with the game, or are they just doing it to kind of, get out of the house or something like that, get off the Fortnite for a little bit? I think that would be my biggest thing to say to parents, is like, your kids need to just find their passion, right? And I guess that brings us to our second question. I mean, I know you already spoke about playing multi-sports. I guess my thing is, you see it a lot at the young age. A lot of the mental focus is I don't want to mess up. So what would your message be to younger guys to kind of focus more on the positive side rather than the failing side?
Well, I think you have to fail to learn, and I think that is, everybody fails. Again, we were talking earlier about Michael Jordan and The Last Dance, and I think it's an incredible documentary on him and his team and that team. And those teams, I guess. But when you talk about failure, everybody's going to fail, but what you learn and take away from those failures, I think, is what's going to make you better. You have to be hard on yourself. You can't rely on a coach or somebody. You have to be able to have that passion yourself in whatever sport that you're doing. We talked about the multi-sport, but, I think that when you play multiple sports, you get to learn, like if you're playing basketball or if you're playing football or golf. My son is a drummer. So, trying to find that rhythm in drums, that's all going to help him. Hopefully in the future, if he doesn't play any sports, I'm fine with that, but it's going to help him learn structure and discipline and, just understanding what it takes to work and to get better at something. I think that's, hey, I never played organized basketball. I played football and baseball and swam, but I loved a good pickup basketball game, but I was, that was just something that I enjoyed doing. I wasn't great at it, but I enjoyed playing that. I think that just understanding what you can do and understanding that failure is going to happen and what you learn from that failure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing you could do as a kid is just give it your best, right? It sounds so simple, but it's everything, right? As long as you give it your best, at least after the game, you could say, hey, I gave it 100%. There's nothing more I could do. And another thing, I think, like you said, you either win or you learn, right? I mean, what's losing, really? I think losing is when you just quit, when you're like, you know what? The game's beating me up. I don't want to do it anymore, right? I think that's the beauty of baseball, is that it's such a grind. And I mean, it's a game of failure, right? I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame if you're successful 3 out of 10 times. So, I mean, I think for the mental side, it's kind of just have fun with it. You're not getting paid to play this game, and even the pros have made mistakes that are, at the highest level. So I couldn't agree more with you. It brings us to our next question. You've been a part of so many great teams as a coach and as a player. One word to describe the best players on the team.
Tough. I think that is, and tough is very ambiguous, I guess. What does that mean for each one? One of the things that we actually I just had a Zoom call with with the players on my team, and it was about Jay Billis did a sheet or like a memo or something about toughness, and it was mostly obviously against on basketball, but toughness is basically when you're talking about tough kids, they are the ones that drive. They have that goal in mind, and they push the other ones that don't have the toughness yet. They bring them along with them, and that's what makes a good team, is when you have everybody on the same page, when everybody's working toward a common goal, and everybody buys in on what their role is. If from the Friday night starter to the 9-hole batter to the guy that's sitting on the bench, maybe trying to steal signs or, helping with alignment defensively, everybody needs to feel a part of that team and their success. I think that is so important. And the more tough kids that you have on the team that are on the same page, the better you are.
Now, is there something you guys do in the fall or just in general in practice? I mean, how do you develop toughness at St. John's? I mean, is there any type of team building where you put these guys in a tough scenario and just see, I mean?
Yeah, we're always, especially in the fall, we're, a lot of our practices are based on competitions, so even if we're working on bunt defenses or first and third offenses or first and third defense, we're always trying to have like a competition between the team that's in the field and the team that's maybe executing the play. So, when you, or even if we're doing like a 2-inning inter squad, we may throw a runner at second base and at least have a competition of, okay, who's gonna score this run and who's not, so I think the more that you put people in a competitive situation, the tougher you become, just because you want to win,
Yeah.
and you're always going to have different levels of that. And some people are going to succeed and some people are going to fail. When they fail, then you could talk about those situations, and hopefully they learn from those failures. So when they're in a game and they got 30,000 watching them or whatever, and it's the bottom of the ninth with the runner at second base, they've already been mentally in that situation, and now they just go out there and execute.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think competition brings out the best in people, right? I mean, sometimes if you're just going, and it happens, right? In practice, sometimes you can feel like you're just going through the motions, but if you make it competitive, it's almost like a game scenario that's now going to transfer into the actual game. So, no, I agree with that. And that brings us to the Moneyball question. I know this is Murata's highlight of the day here, so I'm going to let Maddie take over. No stumpers, Coach, so don't worry.
Yeah, no, Coach Hampton, I mean, anyone who's, followed St. John's baseball in the last 20 years and, saw what you and Coach Blankmeyer and, a lot of the staff and players you guys have had, how rewarding was it for you, to get that opportunity this year, for Coach Blankmeyer to get a shot in professional baseball? What was that like? I mean, God knows you probably have missed in 20 years so many family dinners, whether it be recruiting or something else, or a guy calls you, hey, Mike, you got to see this arm right away, and then you'll shoot down 45 minutes to watch him. So, how rewarding was it for you to get this opportunity? And can you kind of just talk a little bit about, the recruiting circuit and that grind of, 20 years of really doing it?
Right. Well, we are in a different time now, and it is fortunate. I don't know. My wife may be kicking me out of the house because I'm around so much, but it is rewarding to be around them because even when I was playing, you never have a spring break. You never have, a Memorial Day weekend because you're always playing. First off, from getting the head coaching position at St. John's, I mean, it's an honor to be able to follow, 3 Hall of Fame coaches, one in Jack Kaiser, one in Joe Russo and Ed Blankmeyer. And it's an honor to be able to take over and try to maintain the reins of that. And I'm excited about that challenge. When we go out there, we want to be the best that we can possibly be. And we may not have the best players, but again, that kind of goes toward our culture, is that we're going to be the toughest and we're going to grind and we're going to play you 9 innings and to the last out. So that's the culture of our team. And I think that's been developed over the years, and that's, we want to maintain that. As far as the recruiting standpoint, it just like being, just as a player and a coach, you have to be passionate about it, and it also goes back to the competitiveness. So, we're competing against other teams. We're competing against SEC schools and ACC schools and so forth. And, we just want to you guys still got me? Okay.
Yep, got you, Coach.
Okay. We just want to maintain that. So, when we're going out there and we're looking at the best kids, we want to make sure that we get those best kids, and we want to make sure that we're trying to keep the local best kids local. And sometimes we'll win and sometimes we'll lose. But, I think that going out there and making sure that we know and identify who those the best players are, and making sure that there are type of players, that fit our culture. I think that is most important. Again, they may not be the most talented, but they fit within what we're looking for. I think that's what we've done a really good job with here. And again, we want to maintain that.
And Coach, you said it. I mean, a lot of people don't realize what a St. John's is. You guys obviously want to make sure that you're recruiting around the area that you guys are also in, but obviously you guys do a lot of national recruiting. You look up and down that roster, you guys are no stranger to having people from California because, you're trying to compete with those ACC schools. So St. John's has always been, the top school in the Northeast. So a lot of those local guys will want to go there. So, what advice do you have for, a guy who wants to get in front of you at St. John's? Do you like the camp route? Is there a certain way that you think is the best way to get in front of you guys?
I think getting, you want to break down, and you don't want to be so broad that you have, okay, here's my top 25 schools. You have to narrow that down. Okay, what am I looking at? The education of it. There's really 5 pillars of it. So you're looking at the atmosphere of the school, the cost, the coaching staff, the program. There's a bunch of different factors. And so, probably the best way is to get on campus and at least see what that campus is all about. Talk to the coaches, go to a camp, maybe get your team to play in a tournament that the program may be sponsoring, and then just get out there and play. I don't think that you can your concern should be just be the best baseball player that you are. You shouldn't worry about, okay, I got to try to get to St. John's. Well, you go out there and you just work on your game, and if St. John's calls, that's excellent. If some other school calls, that's fine too. At least that'll tell you what level that you're at. And if it's not the level that you want to be, well, then get better, and to me, that's a lot of families, they care about and think about, well, what if I do this and what if I do that? Just go out there and get better, and just let the chips fall, and let the schools that are contacting you dictate where you think that you are. And if you still don't like what's happening out there, then there's other routes too. I wound up going to junior college. It was the best thing that I did in my life, but that's not for everybody, so.
That's a great point. I think, with watching this, and you hit it on the head. I mean, too many people, they put too much stock into, oh my God, I need to control every aspect of it. And, instead of him playing at a, Diamond Nation tournament, he's thinking about, all right, well, St. John's hasn't got back to me in a week, and you got to control what you can control, just like you're saying, play the game and let the chips fall, as they may, because it's not just like we're picking a college and we're going there for 4 years and we're, just doing the educational side. You have to pick a school. The school's got to like you. The roster has to match up, and you have to get into the school academically. So it's just a little bit more complex when you're dealing with baseball and playing in college. So that was awesome, Coach. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's always the best fit. Whatever the best fit for each individual player. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. To cut you off, Maddie, again, I couldn't agree more with Coach as well. I mean, the focus should be on your game. Let your game speak for yourself, and other people can put in a word for coaches. You don't know who's watching, right? So it could be, hey, this kid's good. He knows Coach Hampton at St. John's. He's going to reach out, right? So sometimes when you focus too much on all these other things, you may lose yourself when you actually play the game. So again, let your play do the talking for you instead of trying to reach out all these schools, hey, do that. Just play, and it's going to happen organically, right? Someone's going to see it, and someone's going to pull you in. It was funny. There was a kid hitting the other day, and I'm not going to say any names or anything, but he wanted to go to a certain school, and he went to this tournament, and he did a good job, and then all of a sudden he's going to a Division I school. I mean, he ended up going to Georgetown, but it wasn't even the school he wanted to. So it just shows, like Coach said, there's a school for everybody. You can't force it. It's no one has the secret pill to be like, hey, you could do this to get on this team, right? So again, I think just keep getting better and just do your job on the field, and the chips will fall where they have to be.
Sure.
Maddie, what's your funny question for Coach? We gotta get the good stuff. Now, hold on, Maddie, you forgot you weren't here. Coach actually went on a treasure hunt with his son. They're trying to find this treasure. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool, but I want to hear another fun fact from Coach. So we got to get it out of him.
Coach Hampton, you've obviously had your fair share of bus trips. What were some of your favorite, what's your favorite bus trip moment? Is there one that sticks out, or favorite movie on the bus?
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's that's going to take me back to my minor league days. And we all know that minor league baseball was it's not as glamorous as what you think. I can remember, we actually took a trip, I think, from like Macon, Georgia, up to like Hagerstown, Maryland. It was like a 16-hour bus trip, and we had broke down on the side of the road. So we were sleeping on the floor of the bus. We were sleeping in the rafters. We didn't have any air condition on that bus. So down in Georgia in the middle of the summer, it was about 125 in that bus. I think we were down to our underwear. So, those, when you're dealing with those types of things, it's not very good, but you look back at it, and those are the things that you remember that makes everything so special. The baseball world, and I'm sure you guys know this, the baseball world is very small when it comes to that. And it's probably less than 6 degrees of separation that, you can meet somebody that, that's played baseball, and within two people, you know, you're going to know somebody that they know. So, you know, you never want to burn any bridges, and the baseball world is an amazing place. It really is.
No, yes, it is. Matty, you got anything else for Coach Hampton? I know we went over
Coach,
a little bit of his time.
We wish you a ton of success, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, Coach,
thank you guys so much.
Coach, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you on the show. There's so many great coaches out there, and it's and you're one of them. So again, thanks for taking the time. Matty and I wish you nothing but the best. And I don't know if you're a golfer, you're a fisher, but we definitely want to do something with you. So
that sounds good. Well, hey, I can hit a golf ball pretty far. It ain't going to go very straight, but and I do love to go out there fishing and hunting a little bit too. So I try to spread myself out a little bit. So would love to do that. I appreciate you guys having me on, and best of luck to you. You guys stay safe.
You as well. Thanks, Coach. Enjoy the family time.
All right, take care.
You too.